From Screen to Shelf.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of From Screen to Shelf. This is Gabe. I'm here with my partner in crime, Chase, and we got another episode for you guys. Today's going to be a little bit more focused on the physical media component and also equipment as well. We're going to kind of go through a few things, but we want to kind of talk about the mindset and habits when we are entering this hobby of physical media collecting, in particular 4K collecting, how people kind of get into it, kind of mistakes that are made early on, and even for like the OGs too. I feel like there are some people that have just been collecting for a while that still kind of make some of these mistakes. We're going to delve into a lot of different topics here, a lot of stuff that we've seen on the Reddit, even sometimes stuff on the Discord, but we kind of want to just talk about this because this is something we talk a lot about online, right? Like through Reddit, like in posts and stuff, and even on Discord, but we've never had a verbal conversation about it.
No, we might have consulted about like, the Lawrence of Arabia saga. This
God,
that, everybody
which
knows
is going to get
but
brought up again.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's like, I mean, we have a different insight than some other people because we're consumed by this, not in a bad way, but it's something that we do between the Discord and the subreddit, and we're always there, so we might have a little bit of a different perspective than hardcore casual or even other YouTubers, because they aren't the people that are, that's almost over 60K now for the subreddit.
That's
about
crazy.
To get over 3,000 on the server. Like it's not, I wouldn't say it's a niche hobby, but I mean,
yeah, because I mean the trajectory, dude, we're gonna hit 100K soon. I mean, I could see that happening, and honestly, it's like you said, it's not a niche hobby anymore. And I think that, I think the problem is kind of like what you said. We've been participating in this hobby for so long, and over the past few years, we've had the role of kind of like actually standing back and kind of spectating the community in a way, because we've seen, like, we see all the posts, we see all the Reddit stuff, the Discord stuff, so we've been able to kind of see trends and patterns of kind of, I want to say like just typical human behavior that happens with like any kind of collecting hobby, but more so with like 4K collecting and kind of how it translates, how just stuff online can translate to, the stuff that you're buying and the decisions you're making with your collection. So we have a few bullet points that we're going to hit. I'm sure we're going to dive into a whole bunch of different topics here because there's so much stuff going on since, I mean, when was the first 4K that was released? What year was that? 2016?
15 or 16. I know the first one amongst the first waves was Lego Movie and Mad Max Fury Road, which I still have. I know that was like first week or month releases. I think probably one of the best ways, surprisingly, for people that have been following us a while, we don't do bullet points often. So we had to structure this. Like we usually just, okay, this is what we're talking about, and then just go from there.
Yeah.
But in this one, I think the way that we're going to more or less structure this is we're going to tackle a lot of different points, like you said. But I think it would be best if we go from what you're originally going to start with, right? Which is going to be typically a TV, right? And then going down that path from there. So Gabe, if you want, I know you have a bullet point here for that. Let's start with TVs, because I know before we were rolling, you had some
one of my biggest pet peeves. Yeah, I mean, so one of my biggest pet peeves, and something Chase and I were talking about, is like when someone's getting into this hobby. So a lot of people, and it's good on them because they're researching, obviously, that they need, they need a TV that can obviously accommodate 4K, but also HDR, Dolby Vision, whatever it is that you're trying to go for. The issue being, though, is, and we've seen this on the Reddit tons of times, is people will enter the hobby with these entry-level televisions, which there's nothing wrong with, right? And I don't want to say that's a bad thing to do, right? Because obviously everyone is coming from a different, lifestyle, finances, all that stuff. So there's
Exactly.
nothing wrong with starting with a budget TV, but the problem is a lot of people will complain about the quality of not only like the 4K resolution, but also the HDR, Dolby Vision, and how quote unquote poor it looks, or they don't see a difference from Blu-ray when they're looking at a $300 4K budget
Yeah.
TV, where you're not going to get the nits. You know what I mean? You're not going to get that brightness. You're not going to get the solid measurement or display of what
And
the
contrast.
contrast of what the HDR looks like. Like I mean, you and I were talking about this before rolling. What you pay for in this hobby is what you get.
Yeah.
And I think that's true with most hobbies. You know what I mean? So if you want a nice car, you got to pay a lot of money for it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? If you
exactly.
want a solid 4K experience at home in terms of the picture quality, you need to spend money to get a pretty decent TV. And it is expensive, but I think my pet peeve is just, there's nothing wrong with getting the entry level TV if that's all you can afford, right? And you're just kind of testing the waters a little bit, but also be realistic with the outcome of what the limit is with that, because you're going
Right.
to hit that limit pretty quickly. And I don't know if
Yeah.
you've seen that too on Reddit and Discord
All the
with
time. People
and
are
people will
always
take
asking for
screenshots
suggestion.
of it too, right? They'll take
Yeah.
pictures and we'll be like, what television is it? And it's like
Yeah.
some Vizio something entry level, and we're
And
like,
on
dude, like,
brand.
yeah. And it's like, you're not going to get anything with that. And
Yeah.
it's tough, man, because I mean, what would you say? And obviously everyone comes from different backgrounds, different finances, but I mean, just as objectively as possible, when we're talking about a, a, a TV that can replicate the 4K experience, appropriately, like how much would you say we would need to spend on that? Like if you kind of had to give a range on that.
So it really depends. And I've talked to you about this before, Gabe, and I've talked to people on the server about it. But to give some people a little bit of insight, there is one thing that I take into consideration when my money goes into something, and that's longevity.
Hmm.
Now, what I'm about to say only comes from my personal experience. I don't speak for everything. I'm not trying to act like a messiah, but there was a pretty lengthy period of my life where I did repair TVs for a while
Hmm.
there. And I got a really good understanding of what happens behind that screen.
Yeah.
And the one brand I fucking despise is Samsung. And the
Yeah.
reason is their quality control is dog shit. They have that quantum LED and everything like that they do can look really good. I've been at
Hmm.
Walmart and seen some for $600-700. I'm like, damn, that's a good price. But
Hmm.
also, and I am not exaggerating when I say this, 97% of the TVs that I fixed were Samsungs within their first 30
Yikes.
days of acquisition. That is wild.
Yeah.
And now the argument can be made, and we would talk about this internally at the place I was during that time, was more people buy Samsungs. Perfectly valid, right?
Hmm.
But that isn't an excuse for dog shit quality control. I'm
No,
sorry.
for sure, and I'm
You know what I
actually
mean?
in that because when I started getting into
Yeah.
4K TVs, one of my first ones was the Samsung, and
Yeah.
I shit you not, the first week I was going to bed and I was hearing a buzzing noise coming from it, and I'm like,
And that
"What
drive me
the
insane.
hell is going on?" Yeah, and I
Yeah.
literally had to return it within the first week.
Yeah.
Um,
And they
it's
just
crazy.
mass produce them.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, if you want to like I go to Walmart's pretty often. It's where I'll shop for groceries and stuff like that if it isn't like a wholesaler like Sam's
Mhm.
Club. So I usually go back there, look at the entertainment department, see if they've got some clearance movies. And typically you'll have what they have for their internal brand. Oh, and so Walmart's pretty much what I would put it mentally. I'm sure there's other Amazon brands or stuff, but what's on
Mhm.
a Walmart shelf is what I'm assuming most people are going to go to when they're on a budget or Best Buy.
Yeah.
And they have their insignia brands too, which insignia is not bad. I've seen those last a while, and I didn't repair a ton of them, but I'd repair
Mhm.
them. Um, Going down the aisle, I'll just list off the names to answer your question of what I'd see. That'd be Hisense, ONN / Insignia, depending on the retailer, um, TCL, and Vizio, LG, and Samsung. Samsung, I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. Again, if you like Samsungs, like that's just personal preference. I just wouldn't
Yeah.
because of all the problems I've seen. There would actually be out of those 3, the 3 that I would pick. Vizio is not bad. It's just what I've seen, I wasn't wowed by what I saw on what they had. TCLs don't last a while. So if you're trying to get you more of a holdover TV, TCL and Hisense almost use exactly the same parts. And they're pretty identical in price, and they both use the Roku infrastructure for their smart OS. You can get a lot of bang for your buck out of those two, and the brightness on those two brands is wow.
Yeah, they're
for your
great,
price.
and they've
They're
honestly
great for
come
that.
a long way, I think, from
They
when they
have.
started, because they were trash. Like, when they first came out, Hisense and TCL, they were dog shit, and
They were.
like, they've really come a long way in terms of picture quality. And I think that if you use, and I'm going to shout this website out, because I honestly think it's an incredible site for people to utilize, especially if you're getting into TVs or getting into the hobby, is tvratings.com. Like, if you want in-depth, like, detailed, reviews on televisions with, like, contrast, brightness, longevity, all that stuff,
and they
do all of that. They do a lot of stress testing, and they also have, like, incredible articles where you can look at, like, your budget and say, like, hey, I'm within this budget, and they'll give you the best TVs within that budget, right? And also just a realistic expectation of, like, what we talked about earlier, what to expect with that budget, right? Like, what kind of HDR are you getting? What kind of brightness are you getting? And I think that's a great place to start, is to research, utilizing something like that. But I mean, I would say, going back to what we were talking about, I mean, I think that you're pushing, like, the high, like, I want to say, like, 700 to 1,000 to start getting, like, a decent, like, where you start noticing a difference,
because
right?
like, even the most
4K.
entry level LGs, which on a longevity basis is what I'd recommend. I had one forever as just a side TV. So LG is what I usually recommend, but still, even those are, like, in the budgets, they're still kind of teetering over TCL and Hisense. They don't look much better, if at all. They probably look even worse on the ones I had because of their contrasts on there. But I totally agree. You're looking at teetering 1,000, but then again, now size is becoming a thing, right?
Yeah,
And
right.
I'm assuming that might be a next talk track that we have from a saga that we had on the subreddit
Dude,
for a while.
oh my
About
God.
somebody with a 43-inch OLED, which, no hate, right?
Yeah.
But then there comes a little bit of a barrier if you're trying to watch it from about a good 10, 12 feet away.
Yeah, I think that's and that influences the price, right? Because if you're willing to go down to a 40 something inch, OLED, the price is going to be a lot better. But obviously, you're going to have to do, like, right now I'm using, in my office, my main monitor it's a 48-inch OLED, but it's at my desk. Like, so, like, I mean, to me, this is like obviously like a massive experience, but I'm sitting right at the at the
You're
TV.
right.
So, like, that's what you would need to do if you got a small television like that, is, like, you'd need to sit pretty close to it. So I think, like, with size, I think it's really, and we've had a lot of good people on the Discord, especially on the mod team, talk about, like, seating distance and where you're at and where you're putting the TV, because that plays a role into it too. It's like, how far are you sitting from it? Because if you sit too far from it, you're not going to get any benefit in terms of at least the 4K resolution. Like, it's going to look the same as a Blu-ray. So I think that's another price point. Obviously, the 65 inches, I think, are that's the selling point. Yeah, for a lot of these TV models. So, I mean, if you're looking, I mean, what right now with the market, I mean, I haven't looked since, like, the C3s came out, but I mean, where are a lot of the 65 inches right now? They're sitting at probably like 1,500.
I was going to say about 13 to 18.
For OLEDs.
Yeah, I
we're
want to
talking
say
about
right
higher
in
end.
that. And
Okay,
they're
so
on
13,
C4 now,
1,800.
right?
Yeah, I think the C4 is coming out. So, like, if you obviously, and you guys have heard us talk on the channel, 2,000. Oh shit.
On LG's website, at least.
Yeah, that's going to go down, and that's another talking point too that we can get to, is, like, always just buy the previous generation, because it's so much cheaper. Yeah,
and always around spring to summer transition. Always,
yes, because that's when they're spitting out the new models, or Black Friday. There's decent deals on Black Friday too. But I would say for sure, like, I mean, OLED is, I think that's what we've always promoted, at least on our channel, is probably the best, picture experience that you're going to get.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I mean, QLED definitely has its, benefits with the brightness, because, OLEDs can't match that level brightness. But I think in terms of, like, just amazing contrast and, like, accurate picture quality, and OLED's the way to go. For the higher end experience. But I think if you want to see, if you buy a TV that's like 700 to like 1,000, I think that's where you're going to see, like, a noticeable difference in terms of, like, resolution and HDR, and you'll get that kind of wow factor where you actually see the transition from Blu-ray to 4K.
Yeah.
If you buy that $300 TV, you're just gonna get,
$10 experience.
a $300
You're
experience.
Spend more on about 20 to 30 movies on a very what we in the grand scheme of this hobby would call a small collection. You're going to spend more on the movies and trying to maximize those movies than you did on your TV. And that's the way that we're essentially trying to say, think about this, right?
So what? Yeah. So what do you recommend to people? Like, so if we're talking about this, if let's say I'm a new, I'm new to 4Ks, I'm new to TVs, I'm new to everything. How would you approach it? Would you tell someone to save up for a decent television first before diving into the experience?
So it ultimately depends on what you're wanting to use it for. Now, if you watch a lot of like cable news or stuff like that, I probably wouldn't recommend an OLED because of burn-in with the banners and stuff. If you watch a ton of live sports, like I'm talking, you wake up at 8 a.m., you're watching the pregame shows for Sunday football and everything like that. Burn-in, to preface, I have had, if anybody wants to talk about any type of issues with an OLED, I have a C6, the last 3D OLED that they made from 2016. I still use it every single day, and I don't have burn-in. Is it as bright as my one downstairs? No. Let's say I'm using the other TV for an extended period of time. I will notice a huge difference by the time I go to what is my C1 now. So personally, I would say maximize it, especially if you're a gamer. If you're a gamer and you have like a dual use for this or even a triple use if you're watching more than just that. But also at the same time, if you're just streaming a whole ton, if you're going to have a small collection of 10 to 15 movies and only buy a handful of releases, which some people in our hobby have that self-control, but a lot of people I've seen don't really have.
A lot of us don't.
Yeah, a lot of us don't.
You almost bought a movie just from us talking about
it. Right.
Mad Max.
I need to go get that. So it's like, kind of gauge more or less like how deep into this are you going to go? Did you go to a friend's? Did you watch a 4K? If so, yeah, save up for that nice OLED. If you don't care about the truer blacks, like me, I watch a ton of horror movies. I need that truer black. It brings a whole new essence and life to it. And I don't game as much as I used to when I originally got my OLEDs. But it's still nice. If I want to pull up Diablo, hell looks a lot cooler in OLED.
It honestly does. I mean, I play on my, so I have, like I said, I have the 48-inch monitor. I have a C1 in, well, actually, so now, I have a C1 in my bedroom, and the Vizio actually moved to my spare living room because I have the Vizio OLED. And then I have a C2, my big gigantic 83-inch C2 that's in my main living room. Yeah, it's crazy, and I spent too much on it, but like it's definitely worth it. I mean, I think burn-in is kind of a thing of the past, in my opinion, because I use this thing for my computer, and there's static icons all the time, especially with taskbars and windows and stuff, and I haven't seen anything at all. And even like with Diablo, where you're seeing the icons at the bottom for hours on end, I haven't seen anything. And the screen refresh technology and the pixel refresh technology is so good now that I feel like a lot of those problems with like burn-in have kind of dissipated. But I mean, if you do want the best of the best experience, obviously save up for an OLED. I would definitely, if I went back in time, because the reason I'm talking about this is I also fell victim to the budget TV thing. I was just like 4Ks, let's go. I want to get into this. I was excited. I was like, let me just get a 4K TV. And I think it was funny, back in 2016, I bought a 4K TV and it didn't have HDR on it. I didn't do like my research. And I was like, what is, like, I don't notice the difference with this disc. Like, nothing, is really popping out at me. And then I researched it. I'm like, this shit doesn't even have HDR. So it's I don't want people falling in that trap. So I think if you're interested, if you have seen 4K discs and you like the way they look, and you feel like you are just a movie lover and you love physical media and you're going to collect a lot of movies, it's worth just saving for the TV. Like, just be patient and save for the TV, because then when you get the titles, they're gonna wow you and they're gonna look really, really, really good. This kind of transitions into also the player,
second
which
part.
we were talking about.
Player. Well, do you think it's more appropriate to address the player or sound?
Sound. This is the thing with sound, and I'm gonna piss a lot of audio people off right now. I'm sorry, dude. The thing online, especially on Reddit and like Discord, with like soundbar debates versus receiver. I have both. So like in my bedroom, I have a soundbar system. It's a 5.1 to Dolby Atmos system. In my living room, I have a receiver set up and it's all wired and everything like that. It's great. Don't get me wrong. It's amazing, but it's not worth the freaking argument and stress that people like
Yeah.
debate over online, dude. It's just not.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it comes down to a lot of like, I'll shout out two like highly popular and well known for their audios, or three
Mhm.
actually. GFO over on the
Yeah, shout out
Discord,
to
Death
GFO,
by
man.
that
Yeah.
crazy sound setup, Death by Toast for a crazy
Mhm.
sound setup. And the craziest sound setup that I've seen is a friend that's actually been over here on the podcast before is Chris. He's
Mhm.
got a crazy audio setup, and I'm an audiophile. I like to make
Yeah.
music. If you got this far and you're listening through like podcast streaming platforms, the music at the beginning of this, that's mine. I love to make it. So I'm a huge audiophile, right? The thing is like now this is where the barrier of entry gets way bigger. Like in a TV, we're talking $800, $1,000,
Yeah.
1,500,
Oh
right?
man, audio equipment.
The audio equipment, AVR, overhead speakers, how you're going to install them, wiring, timing, this
Mhm.
placement, the acoustics in your house, everything like that, dead space. There's so many different factors where you could easily sink $3,000 to $4,000 into audio. Now,
Mhm.
I will say, and to preface, a great Dolby Atmos setup is absolutely one of the most beneficial things, lossless audio on a 4K Blu-ray out of anything, out of anywhere.
Mhm.
Now, I don't have the best AVR setup with what I have versus the soundbar. The soundbar is 7.1 Samsung. It's Harman
Mhm.
Kardon. It's fine, but there's not a huge difference. To get that huge, massive difference, we're talking thousands of dollars, not an extra. Hey, save up about an extra grand.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Exactly. So, and also the thing is not all of us have piss your neighbors off space between
Yeah.
residences. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? So that's where it gets different. A TV, you're not going to piss your neighbors off with the vibrancy and the contrast
Mhm.
ratio
Yeah.
of your TV. You know what I mean?
HDR is
that's why,
bleeding through the wall.
yeah, like that's the one thing. Now, would I say get like go to Walmart and get their $60, $50 sound bars? No, you go a little bit better than that. There is,
Yeah.
as much as people hate on sound bars, you can get rear channel setups for them. You can make them decent, but the people that say they're dog shit, they're awful, they're this, they're that, they're not terrible. They're a home entertainment system or home sound system in a bar for convenience, right?
Yeah.
And that's what they're there for. If you have a townhouse, you have an apartment, or you're renting a room, you have roommates, you
Mhm.
have other people in your residence.
Or if you
A
just don't
soundbar
wanna
might
deal
not
with
have
wiring and all of
exactly.
that crap, if you just literally just want good sound, like a and I mean, like, Sonos is obviously, like, the more expensive kinda soundbar
They're
system that
great.
you can get.
Yeah.
They sound incredible, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
They're really fantastic. I mean,
Mhm.
I have, like, my receiver setup, it sounds great. If I brought, like, GFO in and Alex in and they heard they'd probably be like, "You know what? You need to tilt these speakers," and,
Yeah.
like, "This is probably not the best way to put it." So, like,
Yeah.
I appreciate good audio, but I'm definitely not like an audiophile. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I want decent audio, and I think that's kind of how you have to measure it. I
Yeah.
think it's worth it to at least invest at minimum, because a lot of times when we're talking about 4K discs, we're so caught up with the picture quality. I mean, the audio is so important too.
Yeah, so
Get a
important.
decent soundbar system. You know what I mean? I think you should at least do that. Because
Yeah.
and I'm decent. I mean, like, you don't have to spend like thousands of dollars. I'm just saying, get a sound bar, maybe, if it's like a freaking 5 point whatever. I mean, just something maybe with
Yeah.
some rear channels, and you got the front channel and you're fine there. But um just don't let people pressure you, or don't
Yeah.
feel pressure into getting something, because like you said, every situation is different. Some people live in
Yeah.
condos, some people live in apartments, and I live in a house and I have the space to, like, turn my
To
shit
go.
on full blast and I'm fine.
Yeah.
But it's really going to just depend on you, because audio for sure. I mean, TVs, we thought that, if people thought that was bad, like, I mean, you can get a subwoofer that's like $3,000, and
Yeah.
people are paying that. And
Hey, Chris has one, I think that's like 5 grand, man. Correct me if he's listening. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you told me you paid
UK,
5 grand for
Chris?
that. Yeah, dude.
No
That
way.
thing
Oh
will
my god.
blow you a new asshole, man. That
Oh,
thing
I'm
is
sure,
powerful.
dude. Oh my god, dude.
Yeah,
That's
dude.
nuts. But I mean, I love that too. I love, like, when people are passionate about, whether it's like the video quality or the audio quality, and they're trying to get the best of the best. Do it, but you have to gauge like what's important to you, and what's
Mhm.
important for your budget too. Don't go freaking broke doing this crap, dude. Like,
Exactly.
I see people sometimes
Make it
even
make
saying like,
sense.
yeah, like I saw someone saying that they wanted to do like, it was like a 3-year finance on an OLED or something like that, and I'm like, dude, look, what are you doing? I mean, I
Unless
guess,
you
you know,
plan
if
on
you
paying it off in a short burst, like, if you know you're gonna
sure.
get some
No, they were
expendable
talking about like
income, like
3 years
3
of
grand.
payments. Yeah, no,
Yeah. I
like
mean,
it's to each their own, but it's like
yeah.
just be mindful of your finances. Don't go crazy over this. These are TVs and another topic we didn't talk about too, man, is how fast this technology gets updated. You know what I mean? Like you can buy a expensive ass TV and then 2 years later it's like, you know, there's a new one that's like 50% better. You know what I mean? And it
Yeah.
does people like start getting stressed in that regard too, or with audio equipment. So um you know, they're always going to upgrade this stuff. Just know what you want and gauge what you want in terms of the TV and audio equipment and stick with a budget. I think that's the most important thing is just stick with a budget. Know what the budget is that you want to spend and go off of that budget. But I would get
Yeah.
at least a sound bar because I do notice some people on Reddit, they'll just post their TV. They're watching it just with the speakers. And I'm like, oh, that hurts a little bit. Just get a cheap sound bar from Goodwill or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah,
Anything.
always.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's just so many different, again, avenues. There's so many different ways to go about it. It's just it's unreal, right?
Yeah.
This hobby might seem finite and overwhelming at first, but once you realize that there's things that are differently catered to you, like an
Hmm.
OLED's not going to be the best if you have a skylight right over where you're about to
Mm.
put your TV. That's
Mhm.
probably not the best place to put it, right?
No, yeah, you probably
But
want a QLED in that situation.
yeah, exactly. Because you need the brightness to
Mhm.
even that out. Like when I wake up in the morning, I always at least watch 30 minutes of a movie that I plan on either finishing later or continuing whenever I work out. And the thing is it is bright as hell in that room, and it
Oh,
looks
yeah.
way different from it. Let's say, like, I just really like the movie, I wanna rewatch it. It just looks so nice, like, especially right now we're recording at night, it's gonna be a
Mhm.
perfect time to watch a movie,
Yeah.
you know? So, yeah, always, 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 always gauge what your needs are. Now, what Gabe brought up earlier, which will be kind of our last little segment for equipment related things, but we were talking about players, and that's a good
Mm.
segue. I don't know if you want to talk about outside of like the 820 supremacy that we have a lot out there,
Yeah,
which
man,
is good, like you can
yeah.
start getting it for about 300 or so around now, because they're getting cheaper. But I'll go ahead and squash that. The only good thing about the 820 is the HDR optimizer. Otherwise, I noticed no difference in picture quality from whenever I went from I used to watch from way back in the day cuz like I'm pretty sure I prefaced this if you're a listener, I've bought the first wave of 4Ks that came out. That's how long I've been
Mhm.
doing this. Blu-rays long before. When I went from the first slim Xbox that used to play 4Ks cuz I was seeing somebody at the time that had that. Cool,
Mhm.
pop them in. Because I was buying the 4Ks regardless if I had the equipment or not, because I saw 4K, Blu-ray, digital
Yeah.
combo. Why wouldn't I
Same
spend the
way,
extra
yeah,
$5,
exactly.
you know? So then I went to the next generation, then eventually 1X, and then the Series X. Series X was about to damn near get wings and fly out of my house at one point. That's the only issue I had, and it started
Yeah.
skipping on certain things. So that's why I got the 820 because I felt to the same thing. Looking at it, everybody's like, "Get the 820, get the 820."
Yeah, everyone was talking about the 820 on Reddit.
Everybody. And,
Yeah.
there's other options.
They
There's a
still
good
do.
Sony one. Yeah, like, there's a really perfectly fine Sony one that can handle 100 gigabyte. I think it's the X700, that
I
the
think
only
so,
reason
yeah.
people say spend the extra $300 is because it doesn't auto detect Dolby Vision.
Yeah, dude,
And
that's
you can turn
mind-blowing
it
to
off
me
and
that
on.
people are
It's like,
like that they'll spend
yeah,
hundreds of dollars more just to auto detect Dolby
that's
Vision. That's
crazy to me.
mind-boggling to me. And you and I both have 820s. The 820, it's a great player. Let me say this. It is the best player that I've had. You know what I mean? Because I had
Mhm.
a Sony, I had the consoles. Is it the hype that the Reddit makes it out to be? No,
No,
it's
I thought
not.
I was gonna get a completely different picture quality. No, it's almost identical.
It's a great the image looks great, but I think like what
Yeah.
you said, the HDR optimizer for like HDR, not the Dolby Vision stuff, but the HDR
Mhm.
stuff, like it's that's a game changer, especially like when you're like in a brighter environment or you know like you just kind of want to like calibrate the picture a little bit better. That thing is amazing. But it, I mean, it's an expensive player. I mean, this thing started, what was it, MSRP 500 when it first came
Yep,
out?
499. Yep.
Now, like you said, it's been going on sale for like, you know, 330, 350 sometimes. If you have the money for it, go for it. You know what I mean? But I will stand by this, and a lot of people are probably going to piss off. But the PS5 is a fantastic
They are
player.
fine, and they play games for the same price.
For the same price. Yeah. So
Come
like,
back to me when you can put a PS5 game in your 820 and play it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? That's what I
exactly.
used to always say. They're fine.
If you have the money for the 820, get it. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
sure. Like, I think that's absolutely fine. But don't, so there's so many people, like, I see on Reddit commenting, they're like, man, I wish I had an 820 so bad. I want to save up for one. And I mean, that's great. Save up your money and get one. But I guess I just want to be realistic with expectations. You know what I mean? It's a good player, but it's not, like
Mhm.
you said, the god supremacy of
Not at
like it's
all.
gonna change your life. It's not gonna change your life. The first week I got it, I was like, yeah, this looks good.
Yeah,
That was like my
exactly.
reaction. I was like, this looks really good. Yeah, but it's like, I mean, my PS5 looked really good too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but the players are kind of, I always recommend to people. I don't know what you tell people. The consoles are fine.
They
And most
are.
people
I
do
tell them the
have
same thing.
consoles.
I just say it gets
Yeah.
a little loud. That's it. At least mine. I have the PS5, but I don't think I've ever
Mhm.
popped 4K in there. So
Mine's pretty
'cause
quiet. A lot of people
yeah,
complain that it is loud, the PS5, but I mean, I've never had an issue with noise with it. I haven't used it in a while
yeah.
because I've had the 820, but I will say though, I did a lot of comparisons. The PS5 is better than the Xbox One X in terms of
Oh, is it really?
yeah, in terms of playback, and also I think the black levels were better. Some people did kind of detailed comparisons online, and the black levels were better on the PS5. So I
Hmm.
would just shoot for the PS5. I think it's a great all around player. And if you had extra money and you just want to get an 820, I think that's fine. But like, and that might go into the next thing we want to talk about is like freaking Reddit trends, man. Because like a
Yeah.
lot of this,
Yeah.
eh, a lot of this hobby, interestingly enough, really gets influenced by like what's going on Reddit, what's going on online in general on
Agreed.
Blu-ray.com or a lot of these other forum sites. These trends of like you need a UB820, you need Lawrence of Arabia on Blu-ray on Steelbook, and if you don't have it, then your collection isn't a collection. The trends are just kind of ridiculous, and I think people really need to step back and just look at what it is they want. Because dude, there must have been hundreds of people that bought Lawrence of Arabia that didn't care for it. That
I literally saw that on there, man. I don't recall what it was, but somebody was like, I just paid $45 for a movie that put me to sleep. And
Oh,
it's
someone like actually like popped it in and watched
yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's like just for FOMO, and that's a great track into what you're getting into. Like it makes no sense. What was the last? Well, people do that with the Columbia Classics now, but they
Oh,
make
dude, that's a
so
big one.
many and they end up taking a loss on it because they're like, yeah, I've seen people not for any reason, just for sheer collector's value at any time, because you'll find collectors, Columbia Classics Volume One for a restock of an extraordinary price, but you'll see
Mhm.
it on there, but people will post it on there. Then you'll see a ton of people in the server talking about, "Ah, should I get it? Should I get it?" Why are you why are you gauging that? If you have $400 in expendable income, by all means, blow your money. But at the
Mhm.
same time, what movies are exclusive to this that really make you want it? At the end of the day, my answer would be just wait, because you
Yeah.
will eventually get them. Can it take 5 or
Look
6
at
years?
Taxi
Yes, but
Driver
you Taxi
and
Driver, another one, Gandhi,
Lawrence.
just got a UK release.
Oh, did it?
So, yeah, you got a nice little
Okay.
collector's edition. I think even a full slip edition, if I remember right. But yeah,
Yeah,
it
and
got
even
a
then
UK release.
to me, it's just not, before Lawrence came out, before Taxi Driver obviously was announced, like it still just wasn't worth it to me, at least. I know
Mhm.
a lot of people are spending tons of money on it, but it was a trend. I noticed that it was like everyone was just wanting volume 1, and
Yeah.
it be especially because it's sold out. I think that's the biggest thing, and I think a lot of this stuff obviously happened when COVID, when the shortages happened, because I
Yeah.
remember so many people were just ordering steelbooks just because they were like, "It's not gonna go on sale again." It's like, "It's
Yep.
not gonna go on sale again," and then look what happened, like, the past 6 months, we've had so many restocks. Groove did that one weird restock where, like, they had, like, The Thing, they had, what is it called? The Stanley Kubrick one, Clockwork
Oh,
Orange.
Clockwork Orange,
They had
yep.
a whole bunch of like, people thought they were sold out, and they did these restocks, and it's crazy. I remember when the Venom Steelbook was selling for like $70. And
dude, I remember that, and I got it for like 26, even still waiting after the reprint. I got it maybe even cheaper than that because eBay sales are great, for checking out, like, blow it out of here, please rewind, always check their sites, just independent third-party sellers. You can get some of these, the new Bob Marley movie I just got for $20 this morning, Steelbook.
Oh, really? That's not bad.
Yeah. And I really think that thing's going to have like a really good Atmos, everything like that, but it's selling for like 30, 35, $40 because it was Walmart only, I believe. And I don't believe you can still get it off of Walmart anymore. Good deal. And all it took me was about a month of patience. That's it.
Yeah.
Same with RoboCop. The 2 reviews I put up. I did a buy one get one on an eBay seller, and I saved $6 per title. That adds up.
Man.
It may not sound like a lot, but it adds up. Let me think about it. If I save $6 on each title, they're retailing for $30, and it goes down to $24 each. After only a few copies, I'm essentially getting my money back for another one, or just saving the fucking money.
Yeah, just save it, dude.
Yeah, because those are must-haves. I love RoboCop. I'm gonna buy them regardless. I want them now, so I will get it. But if they're not must-haves, and example, you know what, Gabe? RoboCop's a great example. A lot of people are buying that even though they don't like the movie because it's one of Shout Factory's best releases right now. It looks insane.
Yeah, I saw your review for it. You're saying it's like, dude, it is probably the best one from Shout.
It's like, holy cow, man. Like, the way we
better than the original Arrow release. Like
that's what I was gonna say. This is like Shout's variation of how good that looks, dude.
Oh,
like
shit.
It looks.
Because to me, like that's probably one of the best 4Ks I've seen is the Arrow RoboCop.
Yeah, it looks really good, but just because it looks good, people want it. That's cool. Support the medium, but at the same time, it's like, but do you really want it?
Do you like Robo? Yeah, it's like, do you like RoboCop? Do you know what I mean? It's the same Lawrence issue. It's like, do you like Lawrence of Arabia? And like half the people that bought that thing hadn't seen it. And it's like, so why are you buying it then? And I think it's really, I don't know how you feel about it, man, but I think over the past, because we fell for this too. I don't want to like you say that we're pointing blame at people. I've felt for FOMO tons of times. You know what I mean? Especially with like premium releases, where now like with premium releases or even like steelbooks that are coming out, I just kind of accept like, look, if I'm not going to get it right now because I've already spent too much money, but also if I want it, I'll pay the extra price tag on it. If it's $20 more, 30, it is what it is. You know what I mean? And like Pearl, I just got Pearl from someone on the server. Thankfully, they hooked me up with a really, really decent price on it. But I was mentally like, if I had to pay $100 for it, it is what it is. It's sold out. You know what I mean? And you just kind of had to accept it. But I'm not gonna just buy something in that moment just because I fear that it's gonna get sold out, or just especially if I've never seen the damn thing. Like that's a huge thing to me. It's like if you've never seen it and you're spending all this money on it, that's a red flag.
It is. It's $46. Like Taxi Driver, a lot of people are getting that just for FOMO. That's going to be the next Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah, exactly. That's what's I've noticed that on the server. Like for me, I really love Taxi Driver. I mean, it's a fantastic movie. I've seen it tons of times, and I'm excited because I didn't get the Volume 1 Columbia set, and I'm like, I want to see this thing on 4K, so I got it. But yeah, there's tons of people that are like, I'm someone on this. I think it was on Reddit. They were like, I'm hoping this is a good movie because everyone's saying good things about it, and I just spent $45 on the steelbook, and it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, right. It makes zero sense.
All these movies are on streaming too. It's like, watch it on streaming before you freaking buy it.
There's been plenty of times I've done that. And see, the thing is some people are like, well, blind buying, like, and I fall into that. I'm happy I blind bought some, and then there's some like Kill Her Goats I spent $30 on because I thought it was going to be super cool because it had Kane Hodder in it, and it was one of the worst movies I had seen of that year, bro. $30 fucking dollars. But the thing is whenever it comes down to it, the biggest thing to gauge on it is watch it, and you won't have no drive to watch it again, because the biggest thing is there's some like Lawrence of Arabia. No, I don't care what you're watching that on. It's not going to look as good on the disc. That's just facts. That's why you're here. That's why you're listening this much, because you care, right? You noticed that. But it is going to be a whole new experience. There's been plenty of times. Oh, UHF. I'm going to be putting up a review for that pretty soon, if it's not already out by the time that this particular episode airs. But on streaming looks terrible. But that
Mhm.
new 4K, again, another one of Shout's best. It looks
Yeah. It's a
insane,
new
you know?
experience when you
It's
watch
a new
something like
experience.
that. Yeah,
The
it's
colors, the
completely different.
contrast, everything. So it's like,
Yeah.
don't hesitate to go back into those waters. Now, 4 hours, that'd be a total of 8 hours of commitment, but what's worse, 8 hours of your time or 4 hours of your time to understand that a $45 commitment is gonna be worth your time? I say spend the
Mhm.
4 hours, right?
I spend the 4 I mean, and we're talking about the prices now, dude. Remember when Lawrence was sold out? Like, people were buying for, like, $100 online.
I didn't even realize that because I had no issue. Pre-order
Yeah.
arrived on
Me
release
too. I
date, and
just
then
yeah.
and then I see a
Same.
huge wave of people like, "Anybody get this?" I was like, "Why didn't you get it during the first wave?" It wasn't like it was out of stock. I had
Mhm.
no issues and didn't hear about issues
Yeah, me neither.
about people
It was
getting
so
it.
weird.
Yeah, but then that second wave, it was like stock notice, stock notice, stock
Yeah.
notice, and it's like, "Geez, this wasn't hard to get the first go. You should have just
It's
pre-ordered it if you wanted
It's
it."
crazy, man. I mean, and
Mhm.
like you said, most of these people haven't seen it, and I think, yeah, watch the movie. I blind buy stuff too, don't get me wrong, but I do it at a decent
Absolutely.
price. Like, if it's not something's like $10, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm
Mhm.
gonna blind buy it. I don't really care at that. But to me, that's like the cost of a movie theater ticket. So,
Exactly.
I'll blind buy it at that point. There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm not gonna buy a movie that's like, $60 steelbook or something like that, or an Arrow release that I haven't seen.
Yeah,
It's just,
exactly.
I think that's kind of a waste of money. It's a waste of time, and a lot of people fall into that trap. So, in terms of trends, I would definitely be mindful of making sure that you're doing it because it's what you want to do, not because you're seeing it on
Mhm.
Reddit, like, 100 photos of Lawrence of Arabia and you feel like you're missing out. No, you're not missing out. You're always going to be able to get Lawrence of Arabia. You're always going to be able to get Taxi
Always.
Driver. You're even premiums. You're always going to find people on eBay selling the damn premiums. They're going to be probably inflated in price, most likely, but it's like, y- you accept that situation and just move on. Now
Exactly.
Neon Demon's a little bit of a different situation because that's like
God, I'm still mad I can't get Suspiria.
oh, Suspiria,
The
yeah.
Amazon ones, so annoying. Yeah, Neon Demons, for those that don't know, Neon Demons and Suspiria, Amazon Original Productions, got German releases. I don't believe by Turbine. I think it was
Mhm.
Cape Light that did them. Just two standard Amarais. The Suspiria 2017 remake. Those are in the $300 to $400 category
That's
for one
crazy where I
single
can't
movie.
I
It's
can't pay that much for an
Dude,
Amaray.
my most pissed off moment, I came across a while ago. Like, I'm talking 3 or 4 years ago, maybe even only 2. I was browsing Mercari or eBay or something, and somebody had that listed for only like 20, $30. I didn't realize
Oh,
how rare it was. Then the
no
next time,
way.
because I had never seen that movie either, for the 2017 one. At that time, I'd
Mhm.
only ever seen the original. And then later on, somebody brought it to my attention that it was, I'm talking like, dude, like a month or 2 later, somebody brought it to my attention. And I was like, which one? And I went to go look for it. I was like, wait, that's the, that was just, why is that so much? That was just over here. And I
Yeah.
went immediately back to try to find the listing. It was gone, of
Mercari
course.
hurts, man, because, like, when you search for stuff, you'll see the sold ones too, unless, like, because I always
Oh,
forget to hit
that
that
stings the
button.
soul.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, that
dude, I
stings
see
the soul.
so many, like, I saw the Witch, the second sight, limited edition, like, someone had it, it was, like, $60 or $70,
Damn.
like, recently, like, over the past few months, and I'm like, "Fuck. Damn it."
Yeah, that's how
Um,
it feels.
yeah, but just I guess my point is just, be mindful that you're doing this for you and not for trends online because,
Hmm.
yeah, then you'll be, buying shit all the time. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it'll never end. I mean, like, The Warriors was another one. I remember when that one came out and everyone was like, The Warriors," like, everyone needs The Warriors, and it's like, it's a good transfer, it's a good movie, but it's not like you need it. It's not
Yeah.
that important, so just be mindful
Exactly.
of that, and I think we skipped over this point, Chase, that you had made about, like, how film is preserved, but also I think talking about how
Yes.
4K is supposed to look, because sometimes a lot of people, they'll see the film grain, they'll see, like, the
Yeah.
way it's supposed to look, and they'll say, like, "Oh, this looks horrible."
Yeah, that's actually fantastic. And even then, way back, I didn't understand. There's actually one of my favorite movies ever kind of falls in this category. It still bothers me a little bit, but Spaceballs by Kino Lorber is
Mm,
heavy on that grain, like
mhm,
heavy, heavy. But also at the same time, we have to try to sit here, and this will lead me into my spiel about what I wanted to bring up. We also have to understand how things are preserved, how they were perceived at that time, how well did
mhm,
they do? Was Spaceballs just taken right out of the theaters, and all of these reels that got sent out as the duplicates, and then was the original camera negative even stored properly? Is it sitting in Rick Moranis's basement of all
Yeah.
places? Like, where's it at? You know what I mean? Nobody knows. Is it in the proper film canister? And these are the things that you've got to take into consideration. Depending on who you are, how far you've been into this hobby, there's a very, 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 very famous label for people like myself and Will, Vinegar Syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
And their name isn't just a name. Vinegar Syndrome is typically what they categorize as level 5 deterioration. It's usually, it might even be 3. They might only do 3 levels, but I know it's the highest form of deterioration amongst a film reel. It's
Mm-hmm.
whenever it starts smelling like vinegar and it actually starts either like you can crumble from hand touch, like, and not just like gloveless, but like any type of pressure on it, it can crumble, or from it just already deteriorated and looks like a bug shoot through it
Yeah.
because it's just, melting essentially like acid because they are acidic properties. So the thing is, we also got to understand another one that's super heavy on the grain is Ghostbusters. Just think about the amount of people that have touched that. And like,
Yeah.
there have been so many people that have handled that. There's been so many different remasters. Every time there's a different medium or anything, that's the very first. They're probably just getting that right off from behind them like this. All right, Ghostbusters, you're
Mm-hmm.
up, like just going right for it. So we've got to understand the preservation process in which these were kept. We got to understand how the transfer process is done. There are some studios out there. Definitely do your research. My personal recommendation: Vinegar Syndrome does great work. Second Sight does great work. Blue Underground does great work. A lot of them
Mm-hmm.
really do good work, but
Yeah.
all of them except really Vinegar Syndrome and Second Sight have some misses.
Mm-hmm.
Even major studios, you can't just see, oh, Warner Brothers did this. They've had some hiccups. They're not perfect. Sony,
Yeah.
probably the closest to perfect out of the most of the major studios.
Mm-hmm.
They've had hiccups before. So always do your research into what it is. Now, that is super important in and of itself. But also, the other thing that's extremely important is how you're going about researching what looks good. Me, I am not a fan of screen caps. Like, I am not. I just think it's the most dog shit way to get an opinion
Well, it's
because
not
it's like,
it's not accurate, man. It's not
yeah, like
unless
movies
you
are meant to be watched in motion.
well, they're meant to be watched
Like,
in motion, but I mean, how many of these
yeah,
screen caps are on like you're not even watching it on an HDR device, right? And then sometimes like
mhm,
the capture itself isn't capturing HDR depending on what the person's doing. Like
exactly.
it's so inconsistent in terms of like accuracy, like the way it's
Yeah.
implemented.
It can give you a rough estimate, like, let's say, okay,
Resolution
American
maybe?
Graffiti. Yeah, like the
Mhm.
resolution. Okay, hey, there's artifacts here. You can still capture like the most minor things, but I wouldn't sit here and be like, oh, that's terrible. That's this. It might
Mhm.
look slightly better, it might be this. We all have different eyes. I hope not that massively different, but we also have different eyes. So that's a thing to always keep in mind is research what the preservation status of this is. A company like Vinegar Syndrome typically will tell you that it was in dog like awful conditions. There's
Mhm.
some of their movies I have that it prefaces that, hey, this movie looks terrible. The Arrow collection I have of the Herschel Gordon Lewis movies, all of them said, hey, these were barely usable, but we tried our best.
Yeah.
Like
That's
they'll
all you can
tell
ask
you.
for.
Yeah, like, I still have the freaking movie, now those are
Mhm.
Blu-rays, but we're still talking physical media in the grand scheme of things. Anything to me is better than streaming. Streaming is a convenience thing. Now,
Mhm.
whenever I wanna sit down, relax after a long day at work, quality is what I wanna go for.
Yeah.
Streaming and convenience is when I'm at the gym and I wanna dial in on something and watch something, right?
Yeah.
That's how it is for streaming. Streaming, I usually don't, like, do at home. It's usually all of my movies, right?
Mhm.
So or my physical media collection. So that's just the way that you kind of want to gauge and you want to appropriate what you're getting into. Again, most of the companies are pretty good. I have my personal favorites and my personal ones I really don't buy a whole lot from, but
Mhm.
that's not my opinion to push out to you. Or like I already said, two of my favorites, Vinegar Syndrome, Second Sight. I have no shame in saying that because I've already shared that here before. But the other
Yeah.
ones, the ones I would say like form a different opinion about or like go look around, just form your own opinion. That's another thing which I think kind of segues into a different thing that you have on here, Gabe, which stop caring what other people say.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm not going to sit here and tell you the ones I don't like, right?
Mhm.
the reason is because I don't want to sit here and influence anybody's mind or anything like that. They're all great in their own manners. Again, they have misses. If somebody's sitting here and telling you that that transfer is dog shit, there's only a couple I can count on one hand universal dog shit transfers for the most part.
Terminator.
Yeah, Terminator being universally the one. Now, I don't think it's awful. Like, I don't think it's a crime against humanity like some people do. I think it's watchable, but there's better variants like a Blu-ray out there. So, Gabe, if you want to go in more on that, because you wrote that point on here, but that's really what I wanted to say to kind of segue into that.
I think that, I mean, you hit a lot of the points I wanted to hit. I think it's just a matter of, and this encompasses everything that we were talking about. It's just like, stop caring about what people say to you. Stop caring about what you're seeing online. Stop caring about, if everyone's flipping out over a James Cameron release and, it's not coming in the mail in time, or the transfer looks, subpar, but you think it looks good. It's like, form your own opinion of what you want and stop caring about what other people think. I think that I think our Reddit community and Discord community, I think they're freaking phenomenal. I think that they're great and it's amazing. I think especially like when you see kind of the support and people, just engaging with one another and just kind of displaying that passion for collecting. I think the downside of obviously of any online community, not just, any online community whatsoever, is just that you have people who, think that they know how something should be or what you should think about it and what should be in your collection or what shouldn't, what TV's good, which TV's bad. And that's where things kind of get really annoying. And like I said, we talked about at the beginning, we've been spectating a lot the past few years, like modding these communities. And there are people who trickle in like that. It's like, why do you have that movie? Why do you have this TV? Why do you have that soundbar? Why do you have this the speaker setup? It's cheap or whatever. And it's like, live your life and do what you want to do. It's your collection. It's your collection at the end of the day. And I think that's honestly the best way to approach 4K collecting and on the equipment and budgeting and everything like that, is looking at your life, not what you're scrolling through on Reddit and Discord, because then you're just going to get caught up in some waves. And man, we have seen waves, whether it's Lawrence of Arabia or James Cameron. And isn't it crazy, like how intense that James Cameron thing was? And then like a few months later, now it's dead. It's dead.
It's dead as a horse. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's even buying them. I haven't seen anybody buy a while. That was weeks, man. That was crazy.
It was, I felt
nuts.
Like people were gonna go. I bought an Alien a month ago. It's still not here. Like, what am I gonna do? And it's like, cancel it if you don't wait, or just cancel it. One of the two. It's like, what are you so stressed about? What's wrong? Like,
I need it now. I need to talk to everybody. Yeah, and that's another thing. Don't buy movies just for the sake of buying it. Buy what you want. Buy what's interesting. Like me, I'll blind buy a horror movie. Literally, while we were talking, I blind bought like 10 $2 horror movies. And the thing is, for $2 a piece, I'll take that gamble because I'll find some type of appreciation in them. But whenever we're talking 20, 30, 40, or even $60 to $100 for some of these collector's editions, don't just blind buy those. Don't buy what you know you will like. If it looks good, or the trailer, or it's a Vinegar Syndrome title, a Second Sight title, a Kino title, they put out a trailer like that looks good and you can't stream it anywhere, by all means. That's also why I buy physical media. Dr. Caligari was one of my favorite movies ever, and I wasn't able to stream that anywhere. I blind bought it. It's one of my favorite movies of all time now, and I'm glad to have it. So there's a risk reward factor, but don't hoard hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of movies for things that you either aren't going to rebuy or even give away.
Or
sometimes
rewatch.
I do that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, rewatch. What I say, rebuy. Yeah. So like, I'll even give mine away. Like if those $2 Blu-rays that comes in aren't cool and stuff, I'll hit somebody up in the server. Hey, you want these? Just send me your address. Boom. You know what I mean? At least they go to somewhere that I know they'll be appreciated. So
because it could happen the other end of the spectrum too. It's like I've seen it too when Black Friday hits, man, and it's like these $5, $10 sales. You know what I mean? Everyone's just buying these movies, and it's like movies they don't even care about. I'll see someone stack. It's like Godzilla X Kong, and then like all these other movies, movie. Like and it's like I'm like, are you really excited for that stack? And all power to you if you are, you know what I mean? If that stack looks like you're like, this is amazing, I'm gonna have a great weekend watching all this, then all power to you. But sometimes, I mean, I think, you know, when we see stuff dirt cheap, and you and I have been guilty of it too, we just pick it up.
Yeah,
we're
absolutely. Every Black
super
Friday
cheap.
at Best Buy.
Yeah.
One of everything.
It's boom, 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 boom. And I'm guilty of it. I can look right now and be like, yeah, there's shit on this shelf that I probably could give away that I really don't need. Like Godzilla. I mean, Godzilla X, or which is the one with that's on disc right now? It's not X Kong, is it?
You bought New Empire?
No, fuck no.
Oh, okay.
The one prior to that. Which one is that? No, I hated it.
Godzilla X Kong.
Okay, so yeah, that one. The only reason I have it is because it's a great reference disc. Like it's
yeah,
but it's not really
good disc.
It's not a great movie by any means, but
it's a trash storyline.
Yeah, so be mindful both ways. Like, don't spend too much money on like collector's editions and crap like that just because you see people buying them. But also, don't go, you know, on a Black Friday sale and spend like $100 on, you know, $10 movies, and you only care about like 20% of them. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, I think we hit a lot of the points we probably wanted to talk about. Yeah. I mean, I'm not quite sure. I'm sure people will listen to this and we probably missed some stuff, whether it's with the equipment or the discs or any of that stuff. But I mean, if you guys have any concerns or topics that you feel like we didn't really address, feel free to comment down below, because we were trying to kind of, you know, bullet point this, but we went on some tangents as per usual, which was expected. But and maybe we'll do a part 2 of this, you know what I mean? Because like I feel like the landscape is always changing, you know what I mean? And the community is always changing. So but yeah, hit us up in the comments down below. Let us know other topics that you guys want us to talk about, or if we didn't address them, we can address them in the comments. And as always, we appreciate you guys for listening. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.